So in the today's class, we'll see how we can handle web tables. So before that, we need to understand few important concepts, and then we will start with the table concept. So there are different tables we can handle, like we have a static table, dynamic table, pagination table. So there are different categories of web tables we can see on the web pages. So to handle the web tables, before that, we need to understand a few methods which we can use while handling the web tables. So in the last classes also we have used those methods, but today we will see the clear picture, like where exactly we use, how we can use, and all those things. So let me create a new test, new class. I can call it as a elements, or we can say. So when you're working with multiple web elements, like multiple elements, we need to use certain methods. Like suppose if you look at the table, so in the table we have something called table tag, tr, which is representing table rows, th is representing table header, right? So there are multiple combination of elements we can see on the table. So to work with the multiple elements, so we use certain number of methods. Like in the last classes we have used inner text method, text content. Similarly, all inner text, all text content. So when exactly we use this method, and we also have another method called all. So these methods are important while handling the web table. So today we will see how we can use those methods. That's the first thing, and then we will talk about the tables concept. Okay. So I call it as, give me some name here, comparing methods dot spec dot ts. Okay, so let me create a new test. I'll import first test expect locator, and then I'm writing a test method, and here I call it as comparing methods. I'm just giving some title and then arrow function, and inside the arrow function we need to pass page fixture. Page is a fixture, and this is asynchronous. Okay, so now let me just implement something here. So I'm trying to launch this particular page. This is an e-commerce application, and in this application I just want to capture some of the products. Let's say I have different featured products are available here. There are 6 products. So I want to capture these products, and I want to perform different operations on this product. So because capturing multiple products means we are capturing the multiple elements. Okay, so when you're working with the multiple elements, we can use a different methods. So we will look at that. So first thing, to capture all these elements, to capture these elements, I want to write an allocator which will able to match with a group of web elements. Okay, suppose let us inspect one element, and basically this is the title of the element. Similarly, for every element there is a title. Let's say this is h2 tag, right? So you can see every div tag is representing one element, but inside the div tag, if you go inside the div tag, you can find the title, image, and title of that inside the h2 tag, right? So we want to capture all the products. So basically this product name is part of this anchor tag, and this parent of this anchor tag is h2. So even if you highlight this h2, that product name is highlighting. So here there is a class attribute, product hyphen title. So if I go back and see the selector hub and type the class, so how we can access the elements using class? Just type the class. So most of the times the class attribute will match with a group of web elements. So when I use this, this is exactly matching with the 6 elements, 6 product names we are able to capture. So I'm using the CSS to capture multiple products from the page. Let's say page dot locator, and then I can specify this CSS. So now basically it is returning group of web elements in the form of locator. So how we can store them? Let me create products. And what is the type of this product? So obviously the locator type, right? And this is the const variable I can create like this. Now look at this statement. In this particular statement, we are capturing multiple elements, group of web elements, but represented all the elements with a single type. What is that? Locator. Locator. Now tell me the products contains a single element or group of elements? Again, still group of elements. And a group of elements are represented by locator. So basically what is locator here is locator is an interface. It is not a fixture. Okay. So we can import different type of things from different modules. In the last in TypeScript concepts, in the TypeScript classes, I have told you, suppose if there is any function in another external file, we can import that. Class also we can import. Similarly, interface also we can import. Okay. And fixtures also we can import. So whatever things we have created some external files, we can import them in the current file, right? So here the locator is an interface. Like we have a class, right? So similarly, locator is also an interface. So this particular locator method returns the locator type, returns the locator. This is an interface. So this interface is representing a group of elements. So what is a disadvantage of this is if you want to get a specific element, for example, in the products, I have a 6 products. Currently it is captured 6 elements. In those 6 elements, I want to capture the specific element. Then how we can capture it? We can say products dot nth of I. So nth method we can use. From this locator, we can use nth of 1 or nth of 2 or nth of 3, something like that. But is it possible to write a looping statement here? Yes, we can also write a looping statement, but only traditional for loop is possible. So to read all the elements one by one, only traditional for loop is possible. Okay. So let me tell you something here. So we have captured all the products here, right? So if you want to capture the text of the particular product or particular element, so how we can capture the text? How we can capture the text of the element? We have a 2 methods again. So either inner text we can use or text content also we can use. Now let us see the difference between these two. The first example, inner text versus text content. We'll see the practically what are the exact differences where you will see the differences. So I have a multiple products, 6 products are there and representing with the locator. Now I want to capture the inner text or text content of the particular product. That means it will basically return the name of the product, right? So how we can capture this? Normally how we can capture this? We can simply say products. We will take this products page, right? So products and we will say await. This will return a promise. So await products dot, we use something called nth. So whichever product you want, you can specify that index number. Let's say nth of 1 or nth of 2 or nth of 3, something like this. So nth of 1, and then we can use inner text. This is the method will return the actual text of the particular product, right? So if I say console.log off, if I print this element, so print this, it will return the text of the particular element. Or you can also use text content. You can also use a text content. So these are the 2 methods we can use to capture the text content. So how we were able to access a specific element from the products? By passing nth of I. So I means we can pass any value, whichever product title you want to capture, you can specify by using n. And also we have a first and last methods. First product means we can say first like this, or the last, or nth. So 3 methods are available. Okay. So here I'm saying nth of 1. So for both, in both the cases, I can use inner text or text content. So both the methods are retrieving the text from the particular element, right? So let me just run this code and see. Okay, so here on the tests, I can say slash comparing methods dot spec dot ts. So I'm simply running without headed mode, just observe. So it is capturing all the products, no test font. So spelling mistake. Let me copy this name properly. Okay. Okay, so when I run the test, so it is capture all the 6 products and it is trying to capture the text of the particular element. So if I look at this, I'm accessing the specific element. So first element. And in the second case also, I'm accessing the same first element. Yeah, so now you can just look at the output. So this is the output of the first statement, right? So this is the return type and this is the output of the second statement. Now, if I look at this particular output, what is the difference you notice here? Inner text method is exactly written the text item, text content, exactly text. But text content method is returning the same text, but it is also having some spaces. You can see before and after, there are some spaces. And sometimes if that element or the title is displayed in the multiple lines, also it is adding a break, line breaks and everything. So this is the difference between inner text and the text content method. So inner text method will extract actual text of the element, right? So visible text, basically whatever is visible on the web page, that we will able to capture. The text content will return everything, so including spaces, breaks, even hidden elements also. Sometimes the elements are present on the page, but that won't be visible on the page. Even those elements also will be written by the text content. Okay, now let us see if when I use this in the looping statement, how we will able to capture. So instead of handling individual element, can we use a looping statement to capture all the products? Looping statement. So which loop we can use? Only traditional for loop we can use. So for off loop or for in loop we cannot use because this is not an array. Okay, if it is an array, we can use for off loop or for in loop. But if it is not an array, we can use only traditional for loop because here we can pass the index value and that index we can get from the traditional for loop itself, right? So without index, this is not possible. Without index, we cannot get the titles or the product names from the products because this is a locator type. This is not an array type. So only traditional for loop is possible here. So what I will do is, for example, let's say I'm writing a for loop. So before for loop, what we have to know? Suppose I want to read all the products names. I want to capture all the product names. So I want to write a traditional for loop. So to write a traditional for loop, what is the prerequisite? How many times we have to repeat the loop? That information we have to know, right? How many times we have to repeat the loop. So we need to first count how many products are there. So for that, what I'm doing is here, I'm just counting it. Let's say await products dot count. So this particular method will return the count. So count is a method which will return the promise along with the number. Okay. So we are capture the count. So let me keep this as a variable, count variable, and this is const variable, for example, right? So if you know the count, you can write a traditional for loop. So now your for in loop or for off loop is not supported. Why? Because they are only for arrays concept. Only if it is an array, we can use those two loops without using index. But here you have to use traditional for loop along with the index. So now when I run the for loop, I can say, and here the value nth method is taking a value from the zero itself. Okay, index start from the zero. Remember, index start from the zero. Okay, now I'm writing the starting point. Let I'm taking I value is equal to 0, I less than count, and then I plus plus. So now whatever statements I have written here, I'm ready to say inner text method I'm using here. For example, let's take inner text method. Inside this, I keep this. So instead of passing this one, I will pass this I value here. So then what happens? Every time I value will be incremented by 1. So that will be substituted here. Then corresponding product name will be displayed. Okay, this is the inner text. So now let us see how we can print. So it is directly printing here products dot nth of I inner text. And if you want to store them in some other variable, you can simply store it. Otherwise, you can say I'm creating product name, giving some variable called product name, and I create this as a constant. What is the type of this variable now? What is the return type of inner text? Return type of inner text is what? String. Promise of string. So it returns the promise. So we put await. This product name should be string type. Okay. So after that, I can just print the console.log of a product name. So when I use inner text, this will return exact text without having spaces, without having breaks. As it is in the visible text, like it is equal to visible text on the web page, how the text looks like, exact the same text will be displayed. So now I'm using this in the looping statement, just observe. So it is basically return all the text one by one. It is able to capture all the product names one by one. Now look at this. Do you have any spaces or line breaks or nothing, right? So plain text is written by this inner text. So what is the functionality of this inner text is it will extract the plain text. It will extract the plain text, and also it will eliminate spaces and line breaks. You would understand this. Extract the plain text. So eliminates the white spaces and line braces. Now, instead of using inner text, now I'm trying to use text content. Now look at this. In the same for loop, I'm using text content. So instead of inner text, I'm using text content. So text content means what? This will return all the spaces and also line breaks for all the elements which we have written. So let me remove this part. Okay. Product name. So now the text content is returning what? Null or string. So what is inner text is returning? Inner text is always returns only strings. Inner text is always written only string. Only string. But what is the text content returning? It is also returning promise, but sometimes either can be string or it can be null. So either one of them will be returned. So can we specify only string explicitly here? Only string. No, because this is returning either null or string. Null or string. So this what type of operator it is? What type of data type it is? It is a join type of data. So null or string. So either you can specify like this const of instead of string, you can say null or string. Okay, so you can specify like this. Null or string, or TypeScript is basically a typed programming language. Even though if you don't specify this, that is still fine. So I can just remove for now this. Remove the colon. So if I look at this, place a cursor on this, what is the type here? String or null. So that also you can specify here directly. You can say like this. So now first difference is what? Inner text method returns only string type. But the text content can return either string or null. Suppose it could not find any text of that element. Suppose I'm pointing to this element. If this element is not having any text, not having any associated with any text, then this is returning null. Suppose if this element is associated with some text content, that will return the string, either null or string. Okay. Now let me print the product names and see the difference. Previously we captured only text, plain text. Now when I run this time it will return the text contents, but it is also adding line breaks, spaces, line breaks and everything. So which will also able to return the hidden content. So that is additional functionality of the text content. Now we can see this is our previous output. There is no spaces, line spaces, no breaks, nothing. But here you can see there are line breaks are there, spaces are there. So a lot of things are additionally added to the text content. So this is the major difference. So when I use inner text, you will get the exact plain text here. So you can directly work with this values. But when I use the text content, because it is returning line breaks and everything, again, we have to trim them, then only can use those values. So additionally, what we required when I use text content, we need to trim those values. So we need to trim them. So if I don't trim, again you will get all the spaces, line breaks and everything. Okay. So in the last class, we have seen how to trim the elements. So when I use the text content, so you have to trim the line breaks and spaces and everything. So let me show you how we can trim them. So I'm writing the description. So text content extracts text including hidden elements. Even suppose if there are any hidden elements, even those elements also will be returned. Includes extra spaces, line breaks, and etc. So everything will be written by the text content for that element. So in this particular case, additionally, we have to use map to extract the, to trim the data. Additionally, we have to use a map. So in the last class, we have seen how to trim the content. So how we can do that? Let me take this. So product name we have just printed, right? So instead of that, what I will do is I will try to use trim additionally. So copy the same thing again. So before using here text content, right? So in the text content, we capture. So we need to trim the output. So await products dot end the text content, which will return the product name. So this we need to trim. How we can trim the product name? Because here we are retrieving the only one, not a multiple. So this product name we have to trim. So how to trim it? Dot trim. That's it. Okay, so dot trim is a method. So when I add this dot trim, why it is added the question mark here? So normally we use this particular syntax, right? So this is our string and then dot trim. But here it won't accept. Why? Because the product name is having string and null. Sometimes it can be null or sometimes it can be string. So it can be anything. So that is the reason we need to make that as a some optional parameter like this. Question mark is representing like that. Okay. So when I say question mark, it is a kind of a regular expression. So it can be string or it can be null. So trim is a method. So now when I use trim, then only you will get the exact. So this previously we got the spaces and the line breaks and everything, right? So now when I use this trim method here, just observe. This time you will get the plain text. So what we need to understand here, when I use inner text, it will return the plain text and we no need to trim anything. But when I use the text content, you have to trim the content. So you can see now by using text content, exactly we got the values. So this is a difference between inner text and the text content. Inner text and the text content. So what this will do, inner text or text content method will return the text content of the specific web element, not multiple web elements. So because we have written in the looping statement, we are able to capture the text content of multiple elements. But here, if you write a single element like this, so text content, inner text and text content will work only for the single web element, single element. Because we put that inside the looping statement, the same statement is repeating for multiple elements. Okay. Suppose if you have a group of elements, so here inner text and text content is returning the text from the single element, single web element. Suppose I want to capture the inner text or text content of group of elements. I have a 6 elements. From all 6 elements, I want to capture the inner text, or for all 6 elements, I want to capture the text content without using a looping statement. Without using a looping statement. So then we go for all inner text, all text content methods. So now I'll show you the difference between. This is the first one. So everybody's clear. This one, first one, inner text and text content. So in entry perspective, these are very, very important. So the difference between inner text and the text content, both will be written the text content only. Both will return the text of the element. But the inner text method will return the plain text, which doesn't have any hidden elements. But the text content will return the text of the element along with the spaces and line breaks and along with the hidden elements. Okay, that is the reference. So when I use text content, additionally, we also use a trim method to trim those line breaks and spaces and everything that is needed. For inner text, we don't need that. Okay, now this is the first one. Now let us move on to the next one. Difference between inner text and the text content we have seen. So the next one is the difference between all inner text versus all text contents. Okay, all inner text versus all text content. It's not contents. All inner text versus all content. Here again the same difference. So inner text method will return the text of the specific web element or single web element. all inner text will return the text of group of web elements, text from the different web elements. Similarly here also, text content will work for single web element. All text content will work for group of web elements or multiple web elements. The difference is exactly the same. Difference is exactly the same. Okay, so now let me show you an example how we can work with this comparison, all input text with all text content. Right, so we have already captured the different products. So here we already captured the different products. I'm just using, so this is a locator mode. Currently it is a locator. So I'm using this one. So products dot, can I apply all inner text method on this? Yes, we can apply this all inner text. So what this method will return all inner text. So there are 6 products are there. For these 6 products, it will capture inner text and return those inner text in the form of an array. This is very important. So inner text, all inner text will returns an array of string, an array of string. So which will also return the promise, let's say await, and that I'm going to store in a variable. I'll say product names. And what is the type of this variable? Obviously, it is a string type of an array. String type of an array. Can we print this directly? Yes, I can say console.log of. I can simply print product names. So here I'm writing product names captured by all inner text. I'm just printing the products because it is an array. We can directly print. So I'm using all inner text on top of the products. So it will capture the texts of all the products and we are able to print here. Now, if I look at the output, so will it return the plain text or other one? So it will return the plain text because it won't inner text method, right? Inner text won't capture the line breaks and the spaces. It will return the plain text. Now we can see this array. This array contains the all the text, plain content, right? So instead of using inner text, if I use text content, now observe this. I'll comment this too. Now same thing. Instead of all inner text, I'm using all text content. Same thing again. So captured by all text content. So now observe this output. So this is also returns an array of string, same thing, promise array of string will be return type. But in output, you can see the difference. You can see this. It added line breaks and also added some spaces. So this is the output we are getting from the text content, right? So if you want to remove this, I want to remove all the trim spaces and again I want to get the plain array. Array contains a plain text. Then how we can do that again? We need to add trim. So additionally, we need to add trim. So let's see how we can add trim. So here previously we have added trim only for single web element. So we can access this element, we can access the text and then we can use a trim method because there's only one string here. But here we have a group of strings and the product name contains a 6 strings. For all the strings, we need to apply trim. So we can use map. So we need to take each and every string one by one and trim it and store in another array. So how we can achieve this? Using map. So additionally, we need to write product names and on the product name, we can apply map method. So we can apply map. In the TypeScript classes, I have discussed about this map. So what is a parameter? It will take map index. So text. So from the product names, I'll read each and every individual value into the text. And after reading this, what I will do? I will trim it. So text dot, I can say text dot trim. So here I can use a trim method like this. So from the product names, I'm reading each and every text and trim it. And what this will do now? Map will always returns a string type of an array. You understood my point? So this is a simple logic. Even the last classes also, we have discussed this, how we can do with this. Suppose I have an array of strings. So this is the versional array, which is having multiple strings. And now I'll apply the trim method for every element, and output I will store in the target array. Let's say this is my target array. Again, I will take this element, I will apply the trim method, and the output I will store here. So finally, this trim method apply for every element. The output will be stored in the target array. So the trim method, the map will return the target array, which is a string and array. So what is a name I can specify here? Product names dot map will return the array. So for that, we need to store this in another array. So here I can call it as a product names, which are trimmed actually. So I'm just saying trimmed because we cannot store the same thing in the same array because this is the original array, right? So this is a array which contains the trimmed values. So this is again const variable. So this is also a const variable. And what is the return type of this map? Array. Array is a return, a string type of an array. So string of array. So now can we print this? Console.log of, we can happily print this. I can say product names after trimmed. Product names after trimmed. That's it. So let me run this code. So this is a difference between all inner text and all text content. So when I apply this trim additionally, this is another piece of code we need to write when I use text content. So now we can see it is exactly print. After trimmed also we will get exact text. Okay. So this is the difference between all inner text and all text content. Same difference again. So here whatever differences we have discussed, inner text and text content, same differences we have all inner text and all text content. But only one difference is the inner text method will work for single element. All inner text will work for group of elements. Same thing for this. Text content is work for single element. All text content work for group of elements. So if anybody asks you during interview, you should be able to explain these differences. Okay. Now, so if you are using text content or all text contents, additionally, we have to trim the values. If you don't trim the values, you won't get the actual plain text. So you need to additionally use trimmed. Now, the next one, all. There is another method called all. So sometimes we use this all method. I'll tell you when exactly we use this method. Especially when you're working with the tables also, we use this all method. Okay, so if I go back to the this one. Okay, so let's go back to this one. Here we are capturing all inner text or all text content we are storing into array. So this is an array, product names is an array, right? And this is also an array. So here this products all inner text, here both everything is an array because we already captured the text here. So text will be stored in the form of arrays. So here we can use a traditional for loop, or we can use for in loop, or we can use for off loop. All kinds of loops are possible in this particular case because the target output is in array format. So target output is array format. So when the target output is in array format, whenever you are capturing the text or capturing the text content, then only you will able to capture the arrays. So here we can use all kinds of looping statements. But if you go back to the previous one, take this particular statement. So currently what is the type of the products? Locator. Even though it is representing group of web elements, we cannot access those elements directly using array concept. We can access them only by using nth method. So if we want to access the first product by using products, you can say nth, products of nth of 1, products of 2, products of 3. So you can also use a traditional for loop here. If you want to capture all the products names, like in a text, you can use like this. So for loop and products.nth of I, locating the particular element and capture the inner text. So here you can use only traditional for loop. But if I want to use for in loop or for off loop, when you can use those for loops only with an arrays concept, it is possible. But currently the product is not an array. It is not an array. But still I want to use for off loop to read the products. So then we can convert this into array. You can convert this entire thing into array. Directly you can convert this into array. So without inner text or without content. So here when I use uh, inner text, we are able to access specific element, or text content, we are able to access specific element. And here also, if I want to use, here you can use all kinds of for loop. Why? Because the output we are getting in the array format itself here. So all the product names are in the form of arrays. So here we can use all kinds of for loop. But here we cannot directly use for loop because the products are contains a different element locators. So what is product contains? A products contains a locators, list of locators. So this locator is matching with a group of elements. Again, every element is having some locator, right? So those elements will be stored in the products. So here we can use only traditional for loop, but I want to access this by using another for loop, like for off loop, just like how we can use it array in the case, how just like that we can access. So for that, we need to convert this into array format. So how we can convert this into array format? Very simple. Take these products. So we already captured all the products. So just let me show you simple way. So we already captured the products here, right? So go back here, products dot all. So now let's see the description of all. When I put this all, so what this is going to return? So promise of array of locator. It will return the promise. Means we need to put await. And this is going to return array of locator. Return array of locator. So what does it mean? It will return an array. What that array contains? Locators. What locators? The locators are pointing to these products. So whatever elements we have captured inside the products, for every element is having some locator. And those locators will be stored in the array. So what is this all method will do? The all method captured the locators of every element which is present in the products. And those locators will be stored in a variable. And that will be a array. I can say products locators. Every product locator will be stored in this variable. So what is the type of this variable now? Type of this variable is locator type of an array. Remember this, okay? This is a locator type of an array. And what is the difference here? Here we are capturing all inner text from the products and store them into array, and which contains only strings. Why? Because we have captured the inner text. All inner text are the strings. Here also, all text contents are the strings. So the target type is string array. But here, products is not a string actually. So product is in web elements. Products are the web elements. And from those web elements, we are capturing all locators and storing into this array. Now, what is this array contains? The array contains the locators of 6 products. Locators of the 6 products. For example, let's say print this console.log of. So what are those locators? If we want to see, just print console.log. Just observe this. It is printing the locators of those 6 products. It is trying to print the locators of the 6 products. Now you can just observe. This is the locator of the first product. This is a locator of the second product, third product, fourth, like this. Index will start from 0. So first and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the 6 products which we have in the products. So for each product, it is capture the locator and store that locator in a variable. Now this array contains what? The locators of 6 elements. The locators of the 6 elements. Okay. Now, can we apply for off loop here? Because it is in an array format. It is in array format. Can we apply? Or for example, let's say console.log of. I'm writing something here. So product locators, how to access the element from the array. Suppose here the 5 options are there is an array. These are basically locators. Now we want to access this one. How to access this? How to access element from an array? Using index. So locators of product locators of, let's say, 1. So what this will return now? This will return this particular locator. And from that locator, I want to capture the again inner text. I can say dot inner text. Now tell me what this will return. So this is the locator of the first element, and it will return the inner text of the first element, right? So now when I execute this, you will see the output like this. So here we capture the locators of all the elements. Now I'm using the locator of the first element and capturing the inner text. Okay, now you can see this. It is pending. Why it is pending? Because the inner text method returns the promise. So we should put await statement here. Await. Okay, now let me just print this. So this will print like this. You can see these are the locators we have stored in an array. Now, which one we have accessed? Product locators of 1. So that means this one, 0, right? So index will start from 0. This is a 1. So first element it will return. So this is the first element, right? So what is the use of all method here? This will basically convert the locator into string type of an array. Converts locator type to string type of an array. Sorry, not string type of an array, locator type of an array. Okay, so locator here also we have a multiple products, but we cannot use for off loop. But now it is converted into the locator type of an array, then we can use for off loop. So let me write for off loop now. So earlier in the first example here, if you want to print the inner text of all the elements or inner text of the specific element, we use something like this, nth of I. But instead of this for loop, I will use for off loop because it is in array format now. All the locators are available in the form of an array. So I can use for off loop here. Simple. Product locators, take the product locators and take each and every locator in a variable. Let's say let product locator. So from the product locators, I'm reading each and every locator into this particular product locator variable. So if I know the product locator, can we extract the text? Yes. In a text or text content, you can use it. So this I'm going to print console.log of product locator dot inner text. So this will also return the promise. You can just put like this. So here it is possible to use for off loop because all the locators are available in the form of an array. But here in the first example, it is not all the products were captured, but it is not available in the form of an array. It is available in the form of locator type. So that is the reason we should use only traditional for loop in this case. But once you converted this into array format, so once you use all method on top of products, now it is converted into array of locators, then we can use for off loop. It will simplify. Instead of using traditional for loop, this is very easy to use and very flexible. It is very flexible than traditional for loop. So that is the reason we can use all method. Okay. So when to use all method returns an array of elements. All method returns an array of locators. Array of locators. Okay, you understood everything. So now you tell me the difference between this particular products and the difference between this product locators. So here all the elements are available in the form of locator. But here all the elements locators are stored in the array. So array of locators. So that is a difference. Clear everyone? So all method. So all method returns or convert a locator into locator array. So you need to remember this. So returns an array of locators, stores locator of products, converts locator to array of locators. And only for iteration we use this. If you want to use for off loop, then you can convert this locator type into locator array, and then we can use a looping statement like this. Okay. So these are few important things for interview perspective also they will ask. So please remember this. Can we get inner text without using loop? So without using loop, you can get the inner text only for one single element. So here I have shown you, right? So here, this is the statement. So inner text we used here. For this only single statement, you are able to get. And if you want to kept inner text for multiple, and you have to write multiple statements. Okay. So for in loop also you can use. For in loop, you again going to use index concept, right? So if you want to use for in loop, then how we can use it? This is for off loop. So if you want to use for in loop, then how we can use it? For in loop is capture the index. For in loop again, instead of off, I can say in. So whenever I say in, this product locator becomes an index actually. Okay, this is representing an index. So let's say I. So now from the product locators, capture the first locator. I is representing the index. So here we need to write a different statement. Product locators, okay, of I. So this will actually return the locator. From that, you need to extract that inner text. So this is the procedure. If you want to use for in loop, this is the procedure. Okay, so wait, I can say console.log of this. This is the procedure. Okay, because when I use in operator from the product locators, first it will capture the first index 1, and that we are passing. So first locator you will capture. From that locator, capture the inner text. So which one is simple? The first one itself is simple, right? Because we are able to capture the direct value here, locator. And from the locator, extract the text. But here, first we will extract the index. From the index, we'll extract the locator and then use inner text. So this is the indirect approach, right? So remember this. These are very important for interview perspective. So difference between inner text and text content, all inner text and all in text content, and all. All method we regularly use in our tables concept. Okay, fine. So now let us move on to the tables concept. I hope everybody is clear on this. I think we have discussed this in many classes, but in detail we have not discussed. So I hope you got clarity on these methods. So what are the differences and when to use all the stuff. Okay, now, so let us move on to the tables concept. So in the web applications, especially the data is represented with the tables. There are different tables we can see. If I go back to the test automation, this topic will take another 1 or 2 sessions. So we will discuss one by one. First, let us deal with the simple tables. You can look at this as just a static table. So static table is nothing but what? The content is a static. The rows are static, column values are static, everything is a static. So they won't change anytime. This is called simple static table. So dynamic table in the sense what? The rows and column values keeps changing. The values are keeps changing. That's called dynamic table. Pagination table is nothing but what? The data is available in the multiple pages like this. This is a simple pagination table. Okay. So I'll also show you the different tables in another applications. First, we'll start with the static web table, how we can handle the static web table content and how we can, what type of validations we can do on the static table. And then we will see dynamic table, pagination tables. Even in the next class also, we will continue the same table concept. First, let us start with the static table concept, static table. So let's go and create a new file, static table.spec.ts. So today it will take some time. So please have some patience. We will finish the concept. Okay. Static table. So as usual, first we need to import this package and test and static table. I'm giving some title, static a table or static web table. And here arrow function, async, and use a page fixture here, page. Okay. So first thing, so we can do a lot of things on this table, guys. So I will show you the different scenarios, the different assertions on this particular table. So before doing all those things, first we will capture the whole table as one web element. The whole table we have to capture, and we can check whether it's visible or not, first of all. That's the first validation we can do. So if I inspect this particular table, try to understand the tags here. So table is a tag name equal to book table. So name is available. This is a whole one locator. So if I write, for example, if I write CSS like this, like say table, four elements are matching because the four tables are there in the page. But I want to get a specific table. So then you can add one attribute. Name is available, right? So I can add a name equal to book table, book table. So this is pointing one element. But again, if you want to capture the data from the table, the data is available in the T body, table body. So all the TRs and each and every TR having TD tag. TD is representing table data. TR is representing table row. And everything is an element. TR itself is one element. And inside the TR, there are multiple child elements are there. Every TR is having some child elements. Okay. So all these TRs and TDs are available inside the T body. So additionally add T body here. You can put greater than also because T body is a child element of the table. You can put greater than or you can simply say spacer. So this is a locator, CSS locator we can use to capture the table web element. This is the first thing. Capture the table element. How to capture the table element? I can say page dot locator and specify the locator. So this will actually return the table. Single or multiple? Single element. The whole table itself is a one single element. So I can store in a variable, let's say const table. This is a locator type. This is a locator type. Okay. So we capture the table into a variable. So now from now onwards, this table is representing the whole table. So how we can verify it is visible or not? So before that, we need to launch the page. Await page dot go to, and I will provide this URL of the application. Okay, now I capture the table. So what else? What are the different operations or different validations we can do on the table? And before doing, first of all, let us see the table is visible or not. So how we can put the assertion await, expect, pass the element table dot to be visible. To be visible. This is the first assertion. So table is visible or not, we can verify. Okay. Now the first operation I'm going to show you on the table. What's the first validation we can do on the table? We can count the number of rows and number of columns. So how many number of rows are there? How many number of columns are there? And also we can add some assertions on them. Suppose I'm expecting 4 columns are there or 6 to 7 rows are there in the table. That's my expectation. So how we can validate them? It's very simple. Suppose I want to capture all the rows from the table. Before counting number of rows, we need to capture all the rows from a table. If I inspect this element, right? So we have go to selector hub, table slash, and the title of the table is what? Name is there. So name equal to book table, right? So this is a locator we have written for book table. So big table, one element is matching. Okay. Now I want to capture all the rows from the table. So each row is representing what with TR tag. You can see that. Table, T body, inside the T body, TRs are there. So I can say T body also. And it is not XPath. This is a CSS. So just give one space like this, T body. Now inside this T body, I want to capture all the TRs because every TR is representing one single row. So here I'm just adding one TR. Just observe. 7 elements are matching, including header. So this particular locator is matching with 7 elements. What are those 7 elements actually? They are rows in a table. They are rows in a table. Now by using this CSS, we can capture number of rows. I can say count number of rows in a table. Okay, so how we can capture this? Page dot locator, specify this locator. So this is actually returns a group of elements. This is returns a group of elements. This is returns a group of elements, right? So I can say returns all the rows, including header. So can we store in a variable, create one variable called const rows. Okay. Now it is returning all the rows in the form of locator. So what is the type here is locator itself. So we captured all the rows. Now we need to count. We need to count. So how we can count? Again, we can put do different assertion. There are two ways we can put assertion on the count. The first assertion is we already captured the number of rows here. So we can put like this, await, take the rows, dot to have count. This is a direct assertion, to have count, to have count of how many rows we are expecting? 7 rows we are expecting. So await expect rows dot to have count. So here we are expecting 7 including header. So this is the one way we can put assertion directly on the rows. This is the approach 1. Second approach is also there. Suppose approach 1. Second approach. We already captured the rows here. So we just count it. Rows dot count method is there, right? So this is actually returns a count. I call it as a row count. And this is a const variable of number. Const variable, and also it is a number. So what is the count method return? Promise of number. So it will also return the promise. Just we need to say await here. So now we got the row count. So if you want to print this row count, you can print like this. Console.log of a number of rows in a table. In a table, I can just print it. That's it. Okay. So console.log of table. So this is here we put assertion on the directly rows. Rows expect to have count 7. But here explicitly we have counted number of rows and we have printed. But we can we put assertion on this one? Row counter. Yes. You can say expect row count. We already captured the value in it. Row count. Yeah. How to compare the value? How to compare the value? What is an assertion method? To be 7. This is another way to verify the assertion. This is another approach. Okay. So if you capture the rows directly, you can put a have count equal to 7, or you count the number of rows, row count, and add another assertion like this. So here I have added await, but here I have not added await. What is the difference? Here I have added await before the expect, but here I have not added await. Why? Because here the to have count method return the promise. Return the promise. So we have to use await here because we apply this assertion on the elements. But here we have applied assertion on the value, not on the element. So to be is not returning any as a promise. So we no need to put await here. Okay, this is the way we can find total number of rows. Here without finding the count, we can directly put assertion. But here after finding the count, we put the assertion. This is the first thing. So let me run this. Static table. Spec.ts. This is the first assertion we need to verify on the table. So how many number of rows present in a table? Yeah, so now you can see number of rows in a table, 7, including header. You need to remember that part, including header, 7 rows are there. So all assertions are got passed. So this is the first thing. Same thing we can do for columns also. Second one, count number of columns, number of headers or columns. Okay, so now just up. And one more thing, before going to the next thing, let me show you. So we already captured the table locator here, right? Table locator we already captured. But here we have written this path, this particular CSS from the table onwards. From the table onwards, we have written the complete CSS like this. And this part we already captured before. So instead of writing the complete CSS every time, simply what we can do is I can reuse this particular table locator, because this table is also locator. We already stored this table inside the table. So take this table here, and instead of using this page locator, what I will do is I just remove this part. This part, use a table dot locator of, just to specify only tr. This is called chaining of locators. Chaining of locator means we have already captured one locator. On top of that locator, additionally, we have added something extra. This is called chaining of locator. You understood my point? So instead of writing the complete CSS, because till here, this part we already captured in a variable. And that variable we are reusing here. Okay. So TR is representing the table row, because here we have not specified the TR. It is just the written only table. Okay. It is just a returning the table. If I look at this, so this is returning only the table, but we need rows from the table, not the table. We need rows from the table. So additionally, I need TR here. So 7 elements are matching. So table we already specified here. But on top of the table, what exactly we need? Table rows we required. So additionally add another locator, dot locator tr. Tr is representing the table row. Understood my point? It's simple, very simple. Just reuse the existing locator multiple places. So, or else if I don't want to use this, again, you have to write the whole thing every time whenever you want to access all the elements. Okay, this is very important thing. So from now onwards, I will refer the table locator wherever it is needed. I don't want to write the complete CSS. Okay. So this is called chaining of locators. So if you already one locator, you can add another locator on top of it and you can find the target element. Fine. So now come to the number of headers and columns. So we have seen two approaches to find the rows, right? Similarly, in the columns or headers also, we have a two approaches. Two approaches. Listen this. So we already captured the rows. We already captured those. So where exactly the headers or columns are available? So if I look at this T body, first TR, let's go to first TR. Inside the first TR, TH is representing table header. And from the second tier, actual data is started. So representing with the TD tag. Okay. Now listen carefully. I went to T body. So this is my table. From this table, I want to capture the columns. How many columns are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 columns are there. I want to capture the columns. So how we can capture the columns? Where exactly the columns are available? Columns. Where exactly the columns are available? Inside the TRs. Inside every TR, the columns are available. Inside every TR, columns are available. So I'm taking the one TR because all the rows are having same number of columns. So first TR I'm taking. First TR I'm taking. So in the first TR, I can have TH tag. I said TH. Now we can see 4 elements are matching. So this particular CSS we can use to capture the 4 elements. These are exactly equal to number of columns. Now observe carefully. So I'm using this particular CSS here to capture all the columns from the table. All the columns from the table. Okay. So await page dot locator. This is my locator. This is actually written all the columns in a table. So I'm creating one variable const. Okay, and I can say const of columns, and which is again locator. which is again locator. Okay, clear everyone this one. So here await is not required because we are just storing. So we captured all the columns, 4 columns, and storing into columns. Now just observe. This is basically what? Table. So we already created here. So we already created this table locator. So we can remove this. Even TR also we have added. If I look at this rows, what is this rows? Table plus a TR. Table plus a TR, we captured the rows. So now can we replace till here with the rows? Can we write the same statement like this? I'm using again chaining of the locators. So we already captured the rows, right? So instead of using all these things, I remove this and say rows dot locator of th. Can we do like this? See now, chaining of locators. So what is the rows here? We already captured the rows from the table. But again, when you capture the rows, capture from the table. Here we capture the table. Here additionally added the rows. But by using these rows, I'm accessing the th. I'm accessing the th. This is chaining of locators. Instead of writing the complete CSS, you can reuse existing locator like this. Okay, rows.cs. So now this is actually written the all the columns. So can we put the count? The same assertion we can use it here. Expect number of columns. How many columns we are expecting? 4 columns we are expecting. Expecting is 4. This is approach 1. Another approach is what? By counting. So how to count? Take the columns dot count. So count method is anyway there. So this will return number of columns. Store them in a variable. Const, I call it as a columns count. Column count. Column count, which is basically a number equal to columns dot count. So count method will return promise. So we need to add the promise before this. Right? So now I captured the column count. So let's print that console.log of number of columns or headers. Column count. Can we put assertion? Same. Previously we put assertion for this row count. So now here I put assertion for column count. Can use a proper name to the variable. This is a column count to be 4. This is approach 2. Okay. Now let us try this. Understood everyone? So these are the first 2 validations. Number of rows, number of columns in a table. And chaining of locators is very important. If you already written some locator previously, you can reuse that locator once again. So every time you don't need to write the complete locator. So far we have done 2 validations. So number of rows, we find out the number of rows and we have added assertion. We find out the number of columns also, and also we have added assertion. So both are passed. Now actual validations will start on the data. So far we have verified only structure of the table. Table present or not, number of rows and number of columns. But we are dealing with the data now. So now I have one requirement here. Let us say my requirement is third one. Let's move on to this. Read all data from second row. Only second row. So specific row, not only second, whichever row you want, you can read the data. For example, this is my table. In the table, I want to read the data from the particular row. Particular row means what? Either this one or this one or this one, like this. So data means all the columns data. For the first row, this is all data. Second row, this is all the data. Third row, fourth row, fifth row, and so on. I want to capture the data from the specific row. Then how we can capture it? So I want to read the data from the specific row. Let us assume the second row I want to read the data. Second row. Why? Because the first row is having header. This row is having header. So from the second, we will able to read the data. Actual data is present from the second row. So now I want to read the data from the second row. Okay. So for example, how to get it? So second row. We already have a rows here, right? So we already captured the rows. So let me reuse that variable. Rows. Now from all the rows, I want to capture the second row. How to capture the second row? So rows is a locator. From the locator, rows contains a multiple elements, multiple locators. I want to capture the second locator, second row, which is representing second. Nth. Right, very good. So nth of 2, which will return the second row. Now inside the second row, I want to capture, let us say this is my table. So inside the second row, for example, these are the multiple TRs, table rows. So inside the second row, I want to capture TD tags. That is actual data, right? So where is the data is available? Where is the data available? All TDs are part of the TR itself. So now we are reached till TR, second row. From the second row, I want to capture all the TDs. Simply what we can put now, nth of 2 dot. Additionally, I'm adding another locator, locator of TD. That's it. Okay. So here I'm not writing the complete CSS. That is not a good practice to write a complete CSS, because if you already locate some element using CSS locator, you try to reuse them multiple places. So that's what I'm showing you here. If you want, you can completely write the CSS here, but I just want to use existing one. So we already captured the rows here. The previous example, we already captured the rows. From that rows, capturing the second row. From the second row, I'm using locator. So till here, this part is actually locator. So from the second row, nth row, I'm extracting the TD. So this is actually written the second row TDs. Second row, whatever TDs are there, all TDs will be returned. All TDs will be returned. Means what? Only cells will be returned, not the data. It will return only TD locators, not the data. We need to extract the data in some other way. So now I'm storing these TDs in a variable. I call it as a second row cells. Second row cells. And type of the variable is a const. And what this will return actually, this is returning, locator will return locator type. So the type of the cells is locator equal to, do we need await here? No, locator method not returns a promise. So this is how we can extract the cells. So in this statement, we have extracted only cells TD from the second row. From the cells, we need to extract the data. Now you tell me, from all the TDs, I want to extract the text. So what is the method I want to use? Extract in the text. Yes, inner text method we have to use. We already seen that, right? So second row cells dot all inner text, return inner text of all the TDs. So that I'm going to store in a variable. So what is that variable? I call it as a const second row text. Here we captured only second row cells. From the cells, we extracted all the inner text and store them into a variable. Now all inner text will return a string of an array. It is also returning the promise. So await, and the return type is what? String of an array. So now all the text values are present inside the array or not? Yes. All the text contents are available in array. Can we print that array? Yes. Console.log of. I'm just printing second row text. So this will print the content from the second row. All the content from the second row. Now just observe. Here I'm just writing something. Second row data. Second row data. So now observe this. It will just print the data from the second row. First to look at the data, and accordingly we will put a session also. Now you can see this is the exact data which is written. Learn Java, Mukesh and Java. Learn Java, Mukesh and Java. Which one it is? This is the one. This is actually returns because we put 2, right? So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. So nth method always takes index from 0. Okay, so this is the data we capture from the second row. So similarly, we can capture the data from whichever row you want. So where we need to specify, just here we need to specify the row number. So accordingly, it will print the data. Okay, this is a specific. Now can we put assertion on this? So second row text, what is the return here? This is an array which is got returned. Now I want to put one assertion on this array. So this array should contain this particular text. So how we can put the assertion? Await, expect, and whatever array we can create here, just use that second row text. And here we have a method called to have text. To have text. Just a moment. Await, expect, second row cells. Sorry, not text actually. So cells we can put. So here we just find out the text and we have printed the data. So if you want to add assertion, not in the text cells, because we need to put assertion on this one. So second row cells on the locator, we have this method dot to have text. To have text of, here we can specify the entire array. So the complete array, whatever we are expecting, that you can specify here. So this is the assertion. Okay, so whatever the cells we have captured from the second row, on the cells, on those cells, this particular data should be present. This is my validation. This is assertion. Right, so execute one more time. So can we print this data using for of loop? For of loop. Can we print these all values using for of loop? Yes, obviously we can print because it is an array. If it is an array, we can use for of loop also. So let me print console.log of, say, printing second row data. Printing second row data. So how we can print? I can say for, take this second row text. From the second row text, read each and every text one by one. So let's call it as a text, and directly you can print it here. Console.log of text. That's it. So by using a looping statement also, we can print the row data. No, to contains method is not there. So to have text. So this is another requirement. So read all data from the specific row and we can add assertion on that particular data. So now we can see this is the data we capture from the second row. Similarly, whichever row you want to capture the data, you can just change the row number here. This is the third requirement. So read all data from the second row and we can print that. Now the next one. I want to read all the data from the table, complete all the rows and columns, excluding header. I don't want to print this header. And rest of the data I want to print, all the data. So then how we can print this? Extract the data from the table. This is also called as a web scraping. So whatever data is available in the table, we'll able to capture this. So now we'll see how we can print all table data. Read all data from the table. Printing all the table data. Okay, so just observe carefully. I'm saying all data means what? All the rows and all the columns. So we already captured all the rows here. At the beginning, we already captured all the rows. And from all the rows, we need to capture all the TDs. From all the rows, we need to capture all the TDs. So can we use for of loop on this particular element, rows? Yes or no? Can we use for of loop on this rows? I want to retrieve each and every row one by one. Can we use for of loop in this directly? No, we cannot. Only traditional for loop we can use because it is in locator format. The rows are in locator format, not in the array format. If it is in array format, then we can use for of loop. Right? If it is in locator format, we cannot use for of loop. Only we can go with the traditional for loop. So I will convert this into array. I want to convert this into an array. Then how we can convert this into array? Locator to locator type of an array. How to convert this locator into locator type of an array? I want to get each and every row locator in an array. We use all method. Perfect. So now I'm doing that. You can see that. So rows I'm taking, I'm using all. So what this method will do, it will convert all the row locators into an array. It will store all the row locators in an array. So here I'm creating variable all row data, all rows data and locators basically, right? Locators. So I'm just creating a const variable and all method will return a promise as a await. So what exactly we are doing it here? We are doing one simple task. We are getting all row locators into this variable. So what is all method will do? It will returns array of locators. It will return an array of locators. Return array of locators. Earlier it is in locator format. If it is there in no locator format, we cannot use a new looping statement like for off. We need to go with traditional for loops. Instead of using traditional for loop, again, if you want to work with traditional for loop, we need to work with the indexes. So the code will become complex. So we can simplify the code. We can convert this into array type. So now what is this array contains? The locators of each row. Let's say 7 rows are there or 7 different locators are there in the all row data. Okay. Now by using this, we should able to read all the rows and all the columns. Now what I will do is I will write a one for loop. Can we use for off loop now? Yes. So let me take this all row data. Means what? All the locators are there for every row. Now each and every row locator I'm capturing here. So all rows, all row data is available which contains the locators of all the rows. And those locators I'm capturing into a variable. Let's say let row. So all from all row data, I'm capturing the first row into this. Row representing the first row now. From the first row, I want to capture the data. How to capture the data from the specific row? Earlier we have seen. The third example, how to capture the data from the specific row. This is a locator which we have used. Same thing you can put here, but remove this part. So particular row, from the particular row, we don't need nth of 2 or nth of 1 because the row itself is pointing to specific row. Row dot locator of td. So what this will return now? This will return td tags from that particular row. TD tags or TD elements which are available in the particular row. But I don't want to TD elements. I want to text of TD elements. Text of TD elements. Then how we can do that? Instead of capturing the TD elements from the particular row, I want to capture the text elements of the TD. So dot inner text continuation dot all text contents, or you can use all inner text. Anything is fine. Dot all inner text. This is the method. So once it is written the text, I want to store them in a variable columns. So all inner text will return the promise. I can say await. Now carefully listen this. What I have done in this. Currently the rows are in the locator format. So we converted that into array format. Now we got all the rows in the array format. So from this array, I'm retrieving each and every row one by one. From that particular row, I'm capturing all the TD elements along with the text. Store them in the columns. Can we print these columns now? Let me just print. Console.log of calls. That's it. That's it. Over. And one more important. So what I'm saying, read all the data from the table excluding header. But here we will get header also. So when I capturing the rows, I locator as a th, table header. Oh, sorry, here, not here. TR means it will return all the TRs. But if I look at the first TR, we have only table header. But I don't want to print this. So then what I can do, I can exclude that. So to exclude that, we can use one method here. So in all row data, okay, all the rows are there. But in all rows, I want to exclude the first row. So if to exclude the first row, we have an array method called slice, slice of 1. Slice of 1. So means what? The slice of 1 method will skip the header row. It will skip the header row. Remember this, okay? So what slice of one do? Slice of one will skip the header row. So this is the additional thing I put here. If I don't put this, you will get header also. Okay, header also. But here it won't work. If I don't put this slice here, it won't work. Why? Because in a header, we don't have a TD tag. We have a TH tag. But other all TRs contains the TD tags. But here what we specified? TD tags we specified. So from the second TR onwards, the TD tags are started. So that is the reason the first one we have to exclude. And again, if you want to display the header, you can write another console statement here. Console dot log off. Here you can just print header names like a book name like this. And then you can just print other and you can print subject and price. Subject and then a price. So if you just want to print the header, you can just print like this. But we should not include this inside the loop. So why we have not included? Because the header is having a different tag, which is having TD tag, TH tag. But all the data tags are contains the TD tags. That is the reason we should not include the header. So if you want to print only header, you can put one console.log that will print exactly in the console window like this. Okay. Now, so let us try to execute this loop and see how it is going to print the text of all the contents, printing all the table data. Execute. So it will retrieve the TD element of the particular row. Second time it will take another row and again capture the TD content. So that's how it will repeat multiple times till it completes all the rows. Yes. Now we can look at this. So this is the first data, second data, and third data. Because all inner text we use, right? All inner text basically returns an array. Returns an array. So this is the array elements of the first row, second row, third row, and so this is the header. It is got displayed just like that. Okay, so I will try to modify this. So for example, let's say I don't want to print in the form of array like this. I want to print individual values. Again, I will give some tab space between every value. So simply you can format this. Every time, first time it will print the columns. After printing the columns, just add something called a join method here. Join of slash t. Join of slash t. T is representing one tab. So as soon as you printed one column, it is basically joined with the one tab. It is joined with a tab. Row dot locator of td all text contents. Okay, perfectly fine. So these columns we are able to print. So now let me execute and show you the output. Control C. Sorry. So after printing the column, so it will just join the next column. So it is just for formatting purpose. If you want to see the data exact in proper format, we can do that. So this we can do many ways, guys. Okay, I have told you one simple approach. So you can do this in many ways. So by using traditional for loop, by using for in loop, by using for off loop, and even without getting this all also you can do that. So one problem can solve in many ways. So whichever way you are interested, you can try in that way. Okay, this is simple and easiest way. Now you can see I printed the data exactly in the tabular format. So how it is happened? Because of this. This is just simple format. If I don't put, it will just print all the columns text in the form of an array itself. Okay. So this is one type of requirement. So how we can print all the data from the table. So we already captured the rows, converted into array of locators, and then we use simple for loop to capture the data from the rows. Clear, everyone so far? Inner text. Oh yeah, you can use all inner text with the tr tag also. So that will return text of a specific TR tag. Yeah, that is also correct. You can also do like that. Okay, but here I'm trying to reuse the existing locator. So because we already have uh, rows, right? So here we already captured the number of rows. So from the row, from all the rows, I captured the individual row one by one. And from that particular row, you are capturing the TD. Okay, so suppose if you say directly tr dot all in a text, sometimes that will run into issues because if suppose the TDs are in one row, there are only three TDs. Another row, you have a four TDs. In that case, that will be problem again. Okay, so different approaches are there. This is not only the way to solve the problem. You can solve this in multiple ways. So whichever way you are familiar, this is simplest way. We can do that. You can use classical for loop, any other for loop. Without converting this all also, we can do that. Right? So now the next requirement, I want to print book names. Okay, just a moment. Okay, so I want to print book names where author is Mukesh. This is a conditional based retrieving rows of a table. Based on the condition, we will retrieve the data from the table. So I want to print book names. Where is the book names? In the first column. And what is the condition? Author should be Mukesh. So let's say first author is what? Amit. Second author Mukesh. So wherever author is Mukesh, I want to capture the book name. And again, this is a Mukesh. Again, I want to capture the book name. So wherever the author is Mukesh, we need to find that first. And then we need to capture the book name, which is written by the Mukesh. So this is based on the condition, we can retrieve the data. Okay, so let me show you simple logic which we need to apply here. So first thing we need to, ultimate goal is what? We need to capture the books. Based on what? Author. Based on author, we need to capture the books. So first we need to check the author name is Mukesh or not. If author name is Mukesh, then we'll go and fetch the book name. Right? So the main central thing is author. So we need to capture authors one by one and compare with Mukesh or not. If it is Mukesh, then go and get the book name. So this is the logic. So what I will do is I will write a looping because we already have all row data here, which contains all the rows we already converted into array format. So I'm using same thing, same loop again. So here let me write console, same loop, but we need to apply some additional logic here. So books written by Mukesh. Okay, now I'm writing the same for loop, whatever I'm using above, same. So from all row data, I'm excluding the first row, remove that, and I'm getting the first row. So now just observe this. So from this particular row, we need to capture the TDs first. So await particular row dot locator of TD means on that particular row, whichever row we are captured here, from the particular row, it will capture all the TD elements. Only TD means what? Only locators. From those locators, we need to extract the text content. Extract the text contents. So dot, we can use all text contents or we can use all inner text. So let me use all inner text. Okay. So in the particular row, we are capturing the all the TDs inner text. So what this will return again? It is returning an array. Same thing. Columns will be returned. Means here I call it as a cells. For example, I call it as a cells. So because we are capturing the text contents, all text contents, so we are storing into it. So cells, what is cells contains now? Cells contains a inner text of all the TDs which are present in the specific row. Now, can we get this author and book from the cell? For example, let's say in the TR, let's say this is my TR, the complete row is TR. I capture the TDs. This is one TD, this is another TD, this is TD, this is also another TD. Right? For every TD, there is some value associated with that. Now I want to capture this individual value. I want to capture which one? Only author I want. So from this particular cell, of 1 means what? What this will return? Cells of 1. This is 0. This is 1. Author is 1. Book name is array index will start from 0, right? So this is 0. Book name. 0 means book name. 1 means author. We need author first. If author is Mukesh, then we'll get the book. So I captured the first row columns. From those columns, capture all the text values and get the first column. And what is this actually? This will give you author name. So I say const author. So this will give you author because this is the first column. Right. So now the second book also I want to get book. How to get the book? This is the 0 column. So cells of 0. Cells of 0. Okay. So this is how we can do. So from the TD, I captured all inner text and stored them in the cells. And cell of 1 is author. Cell of 2 is book. Cell is book. Okay. So this is a book and first one is author. Now I know the author. I know the book. Now what we need to do, we need to compare whether this author is Mukesh or not. If author is Mukesh, then we will capture the book information. So what is the condition? If author equal to Mukesh, we are comparing this. This is the conditional statement. If author equal to Mukesh, then what we should do? If author equal to Mukesh, I will print book name along with the author name. Both I will print here. Say console.log off. So I will put author name first, comma, book name. Book also I will print like this. Okay, so if you want to print this in a meaningful manner, you can just put in the operator like this. And how to extract, if I put this backtick operator, how we can extract the value of author and book using $sign. We need to keep this in the curly brace and use $sign in front of the curly brace. Similarly for book also, keep it in the curly brace and use $sign in front of this. Okay, and instead of comma, I will give one tab space. This is /t representing one tab space. So now printed. Okay, just have this, only this much. So what I've done here, I've captured row by row. From the particular row, I captured all the data in a text and all the cells data is available. And the first cell data is an author, 0 cell data is a book. Now I'm comparing author is a Mukesh and then print the author name, this one, and along with the book name here. Okay, so let me execute this code and see how it is exactly printing. We can still do some modification. We can put some assertion also. It's taking some time because web page is slow. Okay, now it is got failed. So all inner text is got failed. Locator TD, all inner text is got failed. Let's see why it is got failed. Test ended. So because of this failure, so rest of them is not executed. So it's row locator all. Okay. Sorry. So this all inner text will return the promise. So we have to keep await here. Okay. So cells. Okay, fine. Let me run this once again. See, sometimes we will forget to specify await. So that will causing the problem. This is simple logic based code. So we need to understand the logic. Then you can implement the code. Yeah. Now we can look at this. Books written by Mukesh, these two. So Mukesh, Learn Java, Mukesh, Master in Sim. So these are the two books I've written. Okay. Now I want to add some assertion here. So how we can add assertion is simple. How many books are written by Mukesh? 2 books. That I want to verify. So whether the Mukesh written 2 books or not, I want to verify. So for that, we need that number. Okay, so we need to count first of all. So here we are not counting. Actually, whenever the author is Mukesh, immediately we are printing author name and book. But we are not counting how many books actually, right? So for that, we need to take one array here. I'm simply implementing one logic. So whatever books written by Mukesh, I will store those books in an array. I will take an array. So whatever books are written by Mukesh, I will store those books in an array. So before starting the loop, I will write one array. I can call as a Mukesh books. And this is a string type of an array. Empty array I'm taking. This is an empty array. Mukesh books is an empty array. So whenever you find Mukesh other, so that book, whatever book is written by Mukesh, I will add that book inside the array. So I will push this book name inside the array. So how we can add a value to the array using push. So in the same if condition, I will take this Mukesh books dot push of book. That's it. So after completion of this for loop, what is this Mukesh books array contains? The books written by Mukesh. Can we count how many are there? Yes. So I will put assertion like this. So I can say expect of Mukesh books. Take this Mukesh books. And how many values should have here? 2. So there is a method we have here to have length. Because it is an array, we have to say to have length of how many books we are expecting? 2 books we are expecting. So that is an assertion. So this is how we can add another assertion. This is assertion. Okay. Let me run this again. So there is one more last scenario we have. So once we discuss, we will finish it off. Okay. So now, yes, all the books are printed and my assertions are got passed. Perfect. So now one more last requirement. So here we printed book names where author is Mukesh. Based on the condition, we retrieve the values. Now the next requirement, the total price of all the books we need to validate. Calculate the total price of the books. For example, here, the table in the last column, I have a price details. Now we need to capture each and every row. In that particular row, last TD value we need to capture. The last TD value we need to capture. And whenever you capture the last TD value, we need to add them. First, we have captured 300. Then next round, we have captured 500. That we need to add to the 300. So 300 plus 500. Next round, we will add 300. Next round, we'll add 3000, 2000, 1000. For every value we need to capture, parallelly, we need to add that value to the previous value. So finally, we will get the total price of the books. So same logic, slightly we need to change. So we need to capture each and every row. The last TD we have to capture. The last TD we have to capture. So I'm writing the same looping statement. Just observe carefully. Same looping statement. So header part I have excluded. So first here from the first row, TD capturing all the cells. TD capturing all the cells. Right. And which cell we required? The last value we required. So it is starting from 0, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3. Third one we required. So instead of 1, I will say 3. What is this actually? This is a price element. Price. And we don't need a book. Only price we required. And we don't need any condition also. Okay, now we got a price. So in which format the price is there here? So basically this will return what is the type of the price is string actually, right? String we retrieve, whatever retrieve captured from the web page, which is a string. So when you do calculations, we need to convert that into number format. Okay, we'll do that later. So we got the price. Now I will maintain a variable to store the total price here. Let total price equal to 0. So I'm just taking one temporary variable to store the total price. So as soon as you capture the price here, actually we will get the price in the text format, right? So here I will do one thing. Total price, take this total price equal to total price plus this particular price. So every time, whenever you repeat the loop, capture the particular TD from the row, capture all the inner text, get the third cell value, and add the total price. So this total price I'm accessing here, which is basically number actually. So this is price is a string, this is a number. We have not defined anything here. Let's say this is my number. Now here we will get a conflict. Why? Because the price is a text and calculation is possible only with the numbers. So how we can manage this? We need to convert the string into number format. The price in the text format. So we need to convert that into number format. So how we can convert this into number format? In the JavaScript and TypeScript, we have a direct method available, parseInt method. ParseInt. ParseInt of price. So direct method. PAR. Same in Java also, the same method is there. So parseInt. This is a method. All parsing methods are available in JavaScript also. TypeScript. Okay. That's it. Simple logic which we have done. So we captured all the rows. From each row, we capture the TD and capture the cell price, which is actually price. And we have find out the total price. So once you come out from this for loop, the total price we can print here. Console.log of total price is the total price that we can print like this. Okay. So this is a simple way we can do that. Let me run this. And we put a session on this? So total price, we already have a total price, which is a number, a value, right? So we can expect of total price dot to be, I'm expecting, I think this is around 7,100. So this is my expected. This is our assertion, right? So let me run this. Perfect. You can see the total price is 7,100 exactly matching. Okay. So this is how we can handle the table. So this is simple logics I have written, and we can solve this in many ways. There are multiple ways we can write locators and multiple ways we can write a looping statement. Whichever is possible, you can do that. Okay. So this is how we can handle the static table. So I have given the different requirements, how to find number of rows, how to find number of columns. Okay. And based on condition, how we can retrieve the data, how we can read the data from all the rows and columns. So there are many things we have seen. This is all about static table. The content, rows, columns, everything is static. Okay. So just practice this for today. In the next class, tomorrow we will discuss about dynamic table. So dynamic table means the values keeps changing. Suppose if I look at this bottom table, this is the table. So these values are keeps changing. For example, let's say as of now, you can look at this. Chrome is here. Where is the Chrome? In the first column. Name is a Chrome. So after refreshing, again you can check the table. So again it is a first column, but the values keeps changing. So 8.8% CPU percentage is second column. Now again refreshing it. Now we can look at this. CPU becomes the third column. CPU is now is third column, CPU percentage column. So the rows and columns keeps changing, and the data is also keeps changing. Again, if I look at here, CPU percentage again comes in the first column. Again, this data also keeps changing. So this is a little bit challenging thing to handle this kind of web tables. So in the next class, we will discuss about this dynamic table and also how we can handle pagination table. Pagination table, not this one. I'll show you another table. You guys can try this as an assignment later. Okay. So that's all for today class. So I will stop here. Tomorrow we will continue that.